reality of it is real-time data helps you in the moment to mitigate a potential negative because you're taking immediate action. You can automate that immediate action, but from a VIP side as well, you want to prompt the human to engage as well, be it that it's a wellness check if we see that there is an irresponsible deposit trend forming, or if we want to stop a player from suddenly going from €1 a bet to €500 a bet. Suddenly we see this crazy change in behavior. We can get that intervention very, very quick with real-time data.
You're listening to 15M Mastery, a show that empowers you with insights from the leading iGaming experts to enhance your personal or business performance. The show is brought to you by tech-driven affiliate and media company Already Media, and supported by the AI-powered data analytics platform Blask. Yo Investments, a fund manager investing in outstanding people who are disrupting the iGaming, fintech, and crypto industries. And BC Game, the multi-award winning crypto casino with a player-centric approach. Hello and welcome to 15M Mastery. We're back with Gali Hartuv from WarriorLab to discuss the second pillar of strategic success, understanding performance insights. In today's episode, we'll dive into how performance insights can be used to make data-driven decisions and drive better outcomes. Welcome back, Gali.
Hey, Dimitri. Great to be back again. Thank you.
Okay, how do you ensure that performance insights are actionable and relevant to your strategy?
So, step one, when it comes to trying to identify what insights, it's all in the data. VIP programs need to consider that when you're actioning any form of engagement, any kind of onboarding, any kind of classification, it's all data-led. So the reality is that you have to have the right reports. You need to have some form of collaborative approach with your analytics department, be it that it's your business intelligence unit or data science, whatever the collaboration is, the people who handle your data need to have an understanding of what you're working towards. I see very often in operators, VIP teams telling their business intelligence units what they need to do. But the reality is VIP professionals, we're not the data experts. We know what we want and we know what we're looking for, but it's not our role to go to business intelligence and say, go do this. My approach when it comes to getting the right insights is explain the scenario, explain what your challenges are or the lack of insights that you don't have right now, and let the data people find it for you. Let the data people build the data set that you need without intervention, produce a report that they believe will give you the most simplified and easy to use insights. And if that doesn't meet your expectation, then collaboratively go back and build it together. But don't change the thought process from the data experts who know the data better than anyone else.
For all the data experts and the ones which are cooperating with them, what kind of tools or metrics do you think are essential for understanding the player performance effectively?
So for me, it's a case of two types of insights. One is proactive and I would say preliminary insights that you use to take action before the player takes an action and contacts you for something. And the other one is insights that allow for you to have visibility in order to sustain and maintain a standard. So focusing on the first one, the preliminary and proactive insights, these are things that show you trends in behavior. These are reports that identify red flags, things like players' spending behavior drastically changing. These are things like VIP promotions suddenly declining and the uptake falling 40%. There's a reason why something may happen, and these preliminary insights are indicators to help you to figure out why something has happened or to take an action to prevent something from happening. Often you'll find these sort of reports appear in retention marketing reports around churn prevention and propensity to churn, and you start looking at forecasts and predictability. The alternative one, which is the visibility reports, those type of insights are there to support not just senior management with performance metrics, but it's also at the account management level. If you don't have a performance dashboard or you don't have a portfolio dashboard, it's incredibly difficult to have oversight on multiple accounts simultaneously, have visibility on your action, your contribution, not just to the broader business, but to your portfolio and where the shortfalls are and where you need to take action immediately. Often what you'll find in the most advanced dashboards and in these type of visibility insights, you will find reports that even plug in KPIs. And those KPIs then steer account managers and people within VIP teams to focus on what's relevant. Because the reality is, if you're not working towards something, then you're just doing something for the sake of it. That's not a good utilization of time. It's not a good utilization of resource. And the reality is, if you're going to just do something for the sake of it to fill your day, you're not going to be engaging your players with purpose. You're engaging for the sake of it. And VIPs don't react well to those types of approaches. So those type of insights need to balance. You can't have one or the other. You need both. And at the same time, ideally, you want to have a visual element to both of them as well. You can't just have a wall of numbers and a wall of insights. Having charts, having graphs, etc., helps simplify the process for account managers that get overwhelmed by all these different data sets. And the reality is, we want to simplify the process. The complex data leave to the data expert, keep the process simple, and that helps us to also engage and take action quicker because we're not spending half our day analyzing data. We need to spend a portion of our day analyzing, a larger portion about managing the segment, and then the rest of the day, periodically, we're analyzing and taking that proactive action simultaneously.
I love your answer here, and it leads me straight into my next immediate thought. So let's say you got all these dashboards, all these metrics set up in place. Sometimes looking at the data, it's very hard to understand what's going on. And most importantly, like understanding and identifying trends or patterns, which might not be immediately obvious. So in case of the VAP and the performance insights and the strategies we talked about, how do you identify these trends or patterns?
So I think the first step in how to identify trends and patterns is don't work in isolation. We only know what we know and we don't know what we don't know. Often what I find in operations is that VIP tends to work in isolation in many cases, depending on how it is housed in the structure of the business. Sometimes it falls under CRM, sometimes it falls under operations, sometimes it's completely independent. How you structure that organization directly impacts the type of insights and trends that you're going to be looking for. If VIP, for example, is housed under CRM, it's going to have more of a CRM approach than, say, a VIP independent approach or an operations customer centric customer experience approach. Identifying those trends also comes down to what are you trying to achieve? What are you looking for? It's very easy to manipulate data, to paint a story, to fuel a narrative that you're trying to present. But unless that narrative is relevant and it's going towards something that bigger than just we want to know that deposits are increasing or the bottom line contribution is increasing, well, what about retention? What about player development? How many players did you onboard and develop into VIPs, for example, which is the growth segment? When we're looking at trends, you ask the question, if growth is the focus or retention is the focus, then what is the insight that we need in order to sustain that? And that's when you start asking questions around, well, if deposits increased, did they increase at a sustainable level? Or did our volatility levels suddenly spike? If we see that deposits have increased, where did that increase come from? And we drill down to player levels. Because if you still, like I mentioned in the previous episode, if you're going to be targeting the same segment or the same group of players every time, and that is what's fueling your growth in that moment, ultimately you're going to start seeing a decrease over time. But the same applies with these false positives. If we're not factoring in what positive looks like, but identifying sustainability as part of that, we start celebrating these volatile false positives as growth. We celebrate the numbers going up, and 3, 4, 5 months down the line, there's a sudden decrease, and we start to panic and we can't identify the reason for these pitfalls and shortfalls. Meanwhile, when you start looking historically, you bypass the false positive because that was the month that we did amazingly in. Meanwhile, that is actually the cause of your future shortfall. And this is where those insights and trends must look at the full picture so that we're not bypassing a potential false positive. You need to be able to identify what that is.
Do you think the real-time data, and especially the fact, I think you mentioned this in the last episode, we got access to tools and technologies which were never been available before. So the real-time data in understanding and spotting these trends you just mentioned, what kind of role this data is playing and even playing at all?
I think real time data is a massive benefit for proactive insights. I think that when we're looking at real time data, you can pair it with alerts, you can pair it with prompts, you can build player journeys around real time data. The reality of it is, real time data helps you in the moment to mitigate a potential negative because you're taking immediate action. You can automate that immediate action. But from a VIP side as well, you want to prompt the human to engage as well, be it that it's a wellness check if we see that there is an irresponsible deposit trend forming, or if we want to stop a player from suddenly going from €1 a bet to €500 a bet. Suddenly we see this crazy change in behavior. We can get that intervention very, very quick with real-time data. But that real-time data is not going to help you to look historically at time trends and look at periods over time at behavioral shifts. We're looking at real-time data as trying to support us to be as current and active as we possibly can in the moment. It's about, for me, when it comes to VIP, intervention as well, responsible gambling. But I think beyond that, unless you are leveraging real-time data where you're looking at historical data compared to current to see if there's a shift in behavior, I don't see it as trying to support spotting trends. I see it more as supporting your proactivity and taking immediate action when it matters the most. That's my perspective.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it leads me to my next question about like some actionable examples which allowed you to, by identifying and spotting the trends, kind of empowering and leading you to like a breakthrough strategy or like some significant changes in your strategy, like based on the data and trends which you've spotted previously.
So the best example would be a concept that we developed at WarriorLab, which is something that we call a health check report. The health check report is a report that looks at VIP financial behavior, deposits, NGR, bonus, and we've created this approach that allows for us to factor in volatility in those transactional behaviors. What we're looking for is ultimately sudden lifts or sudden drops in segment behavior or even at the player level that allows for us to determine these shifts that present those false positives and false negatives. The breakthrough in having those insights has fundamentally shifted not just health check of the segment to determine sustainability, but it's allowed for us to drill down so much so that the account manager can apply health checks to their portfolio to determine who their most at-risk player is for falling out the portfolio, which players in the portfolio are overperforming to the point that if we continue to offer bonuses, deposit matches, and incentives to continue playing, we're going to burn them out. And at the same time, it allows for us to determine who to target and when to target. Having the ability to factor in behavioral attribution, sustainability, together with potentially real-time data and proactive data, allows for account managers to have full control on their portfolio, as opposed to over-reliance on automation and waiting for a promotional calendar to run its course. So the breakthrough there is trying to incorporate those insights as granular as you can, where a lot of companies look at it high level and they look at it more as segment performance. In VIP, we need to run it down to the player level. We need to run it at a portfolio level. Account managers need to have this data presented in a simplified way that we're not censoring part of the data, which some companies do. They only offer a portion of that insight due to concerns around the sensitivity of what's being presented. And the reality is, if we're not equipping our account managers to use that data, it really does make handling accounts with the right action incredibly difficult.
Thank you, Gali. That was very awesome and insightful.
I'm glad that you liked it, man. Only a pleasure.